Hey everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are on episode 35 of Ace of the Diamond. We're getting close to that halfway point through season 1. I mean, there's 75 episodes, so we're getting close to that halfway point. And facing Yakushi right now, and Raichi and his team, I love the idea of... we've been talking about this with people on YouTube. I've been talking with YouTube and Patreon people about these episodes. And someone brought up a really good point of saying that Ichidai Third was a big red herring. Because it is. You built up the rivalry with Tanba and Manaka. You built up like this team as being like the national championships. They've got history with Sato. Like you just built this team up, and then suddenly they don't make it past a round, and it's this dark horse team coming in to face them that our boys know nothing about. And I think that's such a cool, refreshing thing to do in a sports anime, and it's very unexpected. And we were talking about it, the commenters and I, about how they were saying it was so unexpected at the time. Like, it was just something really new and surprising. And I really like that about that, because I love Raichi and Old Man Todoroki. I absolutely love them as a duo. They are so dynamic, so cool, hilarious. Their father-son dynamic pays off. Like, you can just tell that the dad, the Todoroki Sr., he knows that Raichi is exactly like him. Like, he's like, oh, this mini version of myself. How do I tap into this energy? I'll just give him a bat and tell him to keep swinging. And it's like, it's so darn good. I love it. But I'm really excited to see how this game goes down, because right now, Sato is winning 3-1. But... But there's a big factor here of whether or not our pitchers can get past Raichi, because Raichi has been trained to withstand multiple different types of pitches and to know it. You're not going to throw Raichi off easily, is basically, and he is up for a challenge. Like, he's excited by Sawamura because he wants to see what kind of pitch he has. And he's like, there's just something that's not being captured on video, and it's like, ooh. So I'm really excited to see what happens, to see how they go about this, to see what Sato has to do to try to win this, what the coach's strategy is going to be, because you have, you know, Todoroki, he seems to be like developing this channel to Miyuki and being like, what are you planning, catcher? What are you trying to pull? So it's like, I'm excited. So I'm ready to see what all happens with this match. I have a feeling that even though we're doing episodes 35, 36, and 37 this go round, I just have a feeling that it's not going to end in 3 episodes, because we spent, what, a whole episode on half an inning? So I have a feeling we're only to inning 1 still. There's no way we're finishing 9 to 10 innings in 3 episodes. There's no way. And I have a feeling this is one of those games that we're not going to be done by the 5th inning. It's going to drag out. But who knows? This show has been surprising. You never know. When are we going to bring Tanba out is the big question, because the coach has told him to warm up. So what does that mean? I just hope Sawamura doesn't get shortchanged. It seems like because he's the protagonist and because we have to build up his journey, he gets shortchanged quite a bit in this series, especially compared to Furuya. So I hope that that doesn't happen, but we shall see. So let's do this, shall we? We're going to start episode 35, Potential. Gee, I can't imagine what this will be about. And we're going to start this episode here in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Well, it only took 37 episodes of a sports anime to make me cry. But that episode 37 burst, that was visceral. So, lots of things to note. One, I kept being like, Sanada, his voice actor. I was like, I've heard that voice before. I've heard Sanada's voice before. It's one of the few times where I recognized a voice actor. I'm like, I know that voice. I'm like, where am I hearing it from? And then I thought about it, and I was like, it sounds like Levi. And so I looked it up right before coming back to this discussion. And I was like, yeah, it's the same voice actor voices Rampo from Bungo Stray Dogs, Levi from Attack on Titan, Law from One Piece, and Sanada, which Sanada in this show sounds a lot like Levi. It didn't sound so much like Rampo or Law. It sounded very much like Levi. And I was like, that's where I've heard it from. So cool. Oh my gosh, this game has become an emotional roller coaster because I knew that we weren't going to get done with this game. We've gotten to, like, what, the 6th inning? So we got through quite a few innings in these set of episodes. And it's probably going to be the next set of episodes when we finish the game. But Oh my gosh, like just the emotional roller coaster that this show has taken us on. First of all, I want to comment that I want a spin-off series where Raichi and Sawamura just go on a set of adventures. They just hang out together and they're just laughing like madmen and saying yes like madmen the entire time. That's all I need in life. I think something really important to note, and this is going to tie back to another series I'm watching right now, which is Stars Align, is that Raichi is a nice person. He is a really nice, charismatic person. Like, he's not a douche lord or a jerk. He's a nice guy because he, like, when he tries to, like, say hey to Furuya, he's like, hey, great pitch, I'm going to hit it next time. And Furuya is so focused on what's happening in his head that he ignores Raichi. He doesn't mean to, he just ignores him, and Raichi's like, oh, hey. It reminds me a lot of, there's a character in Stars Align named Arashi, and he's from the opposition team that our main guys face, and he's the same way. Like, you think that he's going to be this big jerk and be this really mean person, but he's really not. He's just, like, obsessed with the sport, which is like Raichi. And on the inside, they're actually a nice person. So that's kind of the same thing with Raichi. Like, he's actually a nice person. He's just dumb. Which, I love the dialogue between him and his father. His father's like, you're an idiot, you're a baka. And he's like, it's genetic, I get it from you. And it's like, it's so good. But man, Furuya being on a roll at the start, and I didn't expect them to swap out Furuya so quickly, but it kind of makes sense that if they're doing a relay of pitchers, and Furuya's biggest problem right now is his stamina. Like, he has good enough control, and he has the speed and consistency that he's a good pitcher for this game, but the worry of him getting wore out is still there. So I like that they decided to switch him out early to, like, conserve him. They're like, if we need to come back to you, we can, but we're just gonna put you in the outfield for right now. And Furuya having this, like, same energy as, like, Yuki and the coach in that one moment where they all had the blue flame coming out of them, and then later we have Sawamura with that same energy. It's so cool, and it's neat to see Furuya being like, I'm frustrated because I got taken out, but he's not, like, bitter about it. He's just like, I want to go back. Our Ichidai boys, Ichidai third boys, it was so cool seeing them outside. For a second, I didn't recognize them outside their uniforms. I was like, oh, is that the guys from Sawamura's middle school days? But no, it's Ichidai. Well, except Monica. Monica, he was watching the whole game the whole time. But them realizing, we have all this free time, what do we do now? And I kind of like that this series touches on that briefly, because it's like these third years, their sports career is over, unless they're like Chris and going on to do the majors. But it's such an interesting concept that I think that sports animes should talk about more, is with third years, it's just kind of like, in a lot of sports anime, it's a rite of passage. The third years move on, and the first years or second years carry on the torch. But we don't get a lot of, what do those third years feel like and do post? Like, we usually get like a short little monologue and that's it. And I kind of wish there would be a sports anime that talked more about it, because like those guys say, they're like, we have all this free time, what do we do now? Which is very realistic, because it's like, if you've played a sport or done a competitive event your whole life and then suddenly you're not doing it, what do you do with your free time, you know? So I think that that's really cool that they decide to go watch the game. And Hiro, they make the point to him, they're like, look, we want to see who wins to know that we are validated in our loss, you know? In episode 35, holy crap, Miyuki getting ticked off, ooh, because he had an idea. He gave Sawamura a command. He's like, here's the pitch I want you to make. And Sawamura, who was so caught up in the one-on-one battle with Raichi, was like, I'm going to throw it this way because I'll get a strike that way. But it wasn't what Miyuki said. And so he threw it, and it worked. It was a strike, but it revealed his pitch to Raichi. So Raichi was like instantly thinking of ways to combat it. And Miyuki being mad, that is one thing we've only seen Miyuki mad a handful of times. And one was when, it seems that Sawamura's been the one to make him mad. But it was when Sawamura, back like in episode 3, was talking about Chris Senpai, and Miyuki got mad. And then this time Miyuki's like, you didn't do what I told you to do. And he just throwing it back as hard as he can to make a statement, to be like, I'm pissed. It was like, oh, like that whole atmosphere just changed. And it was like, and you could just, and Sawamura instantly realized like, oh yeah, this is a team battle. It's not a one-on-one. But I also love in episode 35, probably one of the most important things that gets brought up from Raichi's perspective is Raichi, our bumbling idiot, our all energy, super optimistic, batting is his life. He is, I think, one of the first people to just openly and bluntly say how much potential Sawamura has. He's like, you have such potential. He's like, your pitch. He's like, it could become incredible. And it's such a weapon. And I love that moment of Raichi realizing that and getting really excited. He's like, I want to hit it. And it's just, and then they bring out Sanada, who, as we say, Sanada is the upgraded version of Sawamura. But I think that's maybe a little bit of a hyperbole, because I don't think Sanada is exactly an upgraded version of Sawamura. I think what Sanada has that's upgraded is his sense of control. He has a lot more control than Sawamura in how he can make his pitches move the way he wants to. And he's got more control in that factor. He doesn't seem to have as many moves or options that Sawamura does, but Sawamura doesn't have quite the ball control that Sanada does. I like the idea of Sanada. I thought coming on the field that Sanada would be like kind of like Shunshin and be like a cold, calculating pitcher. But he's really not. He's wild. He's a wild offensive pitcher. And that's why the coach likes him, because the coach really likes offensive, direct plays. He doesn't go for like the strategy or defensive moves. He's like, no, we're going to wipe him out with our offense, which is interesting. I find it interesting he's not the number one player. He's not the ace number. They say he's the ace of Yakushi, so I'm like, was it all an act? Did they not give him the ace number for a reason? Because he's number 18 instead of number 1. So I don't know if that's an animation error or if their number 1 player is absent. We haven't seen their ace. The pitcher that was before him was number 10. So is their ace out? What's the deal? I'm very curious about that. I like that Sawamura, when they're doing that whole discussion of Sanada being the upgraded version of Sawamura, you can see Sawamura start to get like a little dejected. And I like that Miyuki comes in and the others come in and tell him, they're like, no. You're not inferior to him. He's just different than you. And I really like that. I like that they say he's not inferior. They did this episode. Oh my gosh, they like built Sawamura up so much, and Sawamura hit such highs as a player in this game, and then the lows of the lows, just roller coaster. But that's the question. I like leaving episode 36. The question becomes, or as they go into episode 36, the question becomes, do we change our rhythm? We had a strategy. We were going to do this relay, and we've hit the point where Sawamura should change out, but do we do it? Do we risk upsetting the rhythm, or do we let him keep going? And it's so, I mean, you can't do woulda, coulda, shouldas, so it's so hard to tell whether or not they should have done that, because they could have swapped him out and Raichi could have hit a home run right off the bat off of Kawakami. Like, you just can't predict that sort of thing. But I mean, in the long run, it's better that this whole thing happened so Sawamura learned a lesson. But it's so hard to call that. Like, how do you determine what you should have done? I like the bunt signal that Yakushi has. They're just like that's the signal. I thought for a second he was like, like if you hold your breath and you like push outward, it makes your ears pop. I thought he was doing something weird like that to make his ears pop for some reason. But then when he did the signal and they were like, oh, then it all makes sense. And Miyuki's right. You don't do a good bunt like that just by practicing overnight. Like, it's something they've all been working on. And I actually really like the Todoroki coach, his philosophy to them. He tells all the players, he's like, you're responsible for your own plays. I don't care how you get this task done, but here's the task, just go get it done. You do the play that you feel most comfortable with. And I kind of like that. I like that philosophy of you are responsible for your own decisions and your own plays. Like, that's a really cool philosophy. Like, he trains them super hardcore, and that way when they get out in the field, they can do whatever they want and they're prepared for it. Makes them a dangerous team as an opponent. And then, of course, the coach Todoroki being like, he gets all excited and he's like, I want to play with them. And that's like such a professional player coach mentality of like, you get so caught up in it that you want to be a part of it as well. And the fact that he's an amateur player in his adulthood is kind of contributing to that even more, right? But then the one guy sacrificing himself, like they could have made a double play, but he chose to sacrifice himself and bunt instead. And the coach saying, you're finally using your brains. You're figuring out what it takes to win. And that's just, oof, that's, it's problematic because everything was going great till episode 37. We were up by like 4 runs. It was like 0-0-0. Everything was at a standstill. And the power of Raichi I cannot emphasize just how I love Raichi as a character. He's so dynamic, and his super confidence, his laugh, but his like love of the sport and he wants to connect with the pitchers. He wants to keep playing. Like him and Sawamura are the protagonists of their own stories. Like if this whole series was about Yakushi, I mean, Raichi would be the hero of the episode, right? And Sawamura, instead of Sawamura being taken out and feeling totally dejected, Raichi would be the hero. And I've heard some of you comment, and when we first met Raichi, some of you said that originally the plan was to make like Yakushi's team, like the protagonist team, and like Raichi the protagonist team, and then go from there. And that's really cool. I like that, but I do like that we still are focusing on Sato. I like the uniqueness of the situation that Sato's in. And Ichidai and the boys there, they make a good point. They're like, Yakushi's the underdog. And the crowd starts rooting for them. They came to see an upset. The crowd, naturally, we as humans, we want to root for the underdog. We want to root for the one that's disadvantaged. So, and that's kind of Yakushi, oddly enough. So the crowd wants to see Yakushi win. And I like the phrase that they're like, don't lose to the crowd. Don't lose to that mentality. So also, the whole red and blue coming together to make purple when Raichi first connects to Sawamura's pitch, and it's a foul and he hits it over there. But the way it connected and the way the colors blended, the animation this last couple episodes was so good. But what have I got here? Raichi wanting to test the pitcher. Yeah, he wants to test the pitcher and keep being able to hit the ball. This episode made me cry, and I didn't expect it to come from this series until like way later. But the whole episode title being called Burst is like, we built up this bubble with Sawamura. Sawamura was having the best game of his life. He was doing so well, and then all it took was, and the worst part is his pitches were perfect. His pitches were exactly what Miyuki wanted. They were perfection. And Raichi not only hit that one pitch, but knocked it out of the frickin' park into the stands and scored 2 runs, and that changed the whole momentum. And then they show the bags under his eyes and like all his doubt, and Miyuki admitting like, that was my fault, and it really wasn't anybody's fault. It just happened. But the thing that killed me was that this whole series, everybody has been so down on Sawamura and using like negative reinforcement. They've been like, get your head in the game, come on, rely on us. And Furuya has been the one they've praised because Furuya relies on positive reinforcement. But the moment they start telling Sawamura, they're like, hey, it's okay, it's all right. That line from Todoroki where he's like, everyone's kindness hurts, because he knows it's not what's natural. Like if he had been doing good, if he had done well, they wouldn't have responded that way. The fact that they're being kind to him is trying to soften the blow of, yeah, you done goofed. And that just the bags under his eyes and his doubt. And then you realize the coach said those words like keeping him in for the inning, like the coach had all this faith in him. And what cut to my core was not them taking him out, because you knew it was going to happen, because he was starting to pitch balls and it was starting to walk people, and they were like, we need to get you out now before things get worse. That's not what made me cry. It was when the coach telling him, he's like, that was your best pitch. That pitch that he got was your strongest pitch. And he's like, that's the best pitch you've ever done. And it just happens. He's like, so what you've got to do now is take what you just experienced and do something with it. He's like, what are you going to do with that? And it's like, ugh. So it's like he wasn't disappointed in him. He wasn't mad. It was just strategy. It was just a strategic move. He's like, we have to take you out. We don't have a choice. Ugh. That was just so rough. And then them gaining, like they're only down by 1 now. They're only down by 1. They could tie it up. And we're like entering into the 7th inning. And here's the thing. We are Tanba getting his arm warmed up, and the catcher saying, this is the best you've pitched in a long time. Like, I just have a feeling that Tanba's going to come in And it's going to be like, he's like, it's time for me to show why I'm the ace. And what I want to see happen is that when he comes in, he pitches, and I want Raichi to hit I want our guys to like catch up or get ahead, and then I want Raichi to hit a pitch off of Tanba's throw, and I want to see how Tanba reacts to it, and I want it to be like the proof of why Tanba's the ace. Like, how I keep cool under pressure is proof that I'm the ace of the team. Like, that's what I want to see. But our boy Sawamura, that hurt. Episode 37 was painful. On the one hand, I was so glad that we didn't have to wait, because when episode 36 ended on a cliffhanger, I was like, I'm so glad I don't have to wait till next week to watch another episode. But then when we got episode 37, I'm like, well, glad we got that pain out of the way. It's just so rough, because you know that hit is going to stick with Sawamura for a while and is going to cause some damage. And Miyuki's probably thinking, we got some work to do to get the PTSD out of Sawamura. Because that just like changed his whole attitude, that one hit. It's like, and a lot of people might be like, well, why did that one hit affect him so hard? Because he'd been doing so well. But it's kind of like anything else. If you get 100 compliments, the one negative criticism can totally throw off your day. Like, that one bit of negativity can ruin a whole day's worth of positivity. And this was just a perfect example of that it just totally threw Sawamura off his game. Because, you know, in his mind, he's probably been thinking, if I can get my pitch controlled and exactly like it should be, I'll be unstoppable. And this just went to prove, no, it's not unstoppable. There's still always somebody that's going to be able to come in and hit the pitch. Crazy, y'all. I can't. But yeah, these episodes, I keep saying this series gets better and better, but I don't know. I think these 3 episodes might be my favorite in a long time. It's hard to rank episodes in the series because we're like 37 episodes in, so how do you rank your favorite? But I'll be honest, Burst is up there. Like, emotional toll, y'all. That was really good. So, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below about these set of episodes. This was amazing, but I'm ready for Tanba to come back. I'm ready to see what he can do. So I'm curious to know your thoughts. Please, no spoilers, but please let me know down below. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, next week we'll be back with episodes 38, 39, and 40 of Ace of the Diamond. Bye.